All right, guys, so today we're gonna go over 2500 versus 3500 and what is actually the difference between these two trucks. All right, there's a ton of info out there. There's a ton of specs and weights and all this stuff. So I want to get into it all, guys. I want to go over both these trucks I have sitting here today, 2500 and 3500. And right now you're looking at these two trucks. We're going to get into, first off, what's the same, and then we're going to get into all of the differences, right? Even though some are unseen. So they are both 2024 Denali Ultimates, okay? The Denali Ultimate, as you're probably aware, maybe you're not, you're gonna get, this is the top of the line truck with every single amenity, every single option that you could possibly get in a diesel pickup truck in a GMC, right? GMC or Chevy, it's top of the line. So walking around it, guys, you're gonna see you got paint match bumpers. Now these two trucks, this truck has the optional painted wheel arch moldings. The 3500 over here does not, but that is an option on that truck. So from the factory, you can order them the exact same. You know, this particular one does have the painted wheel arches. Going around here, you can see they both have power running boards, okay? They both have a standard 20-inch wheel with the Goodyear Wrangler, and this is a 275/65/20. That is the standard tire on both of these trucks. So same tires, same wheels. The other thing is your braking. Okay, that's the other thing. Guys will go like, oh yeah, the 3500 is better braking. No, it doesn't. Braking is the exact same. They both have the same brakes, the same braking system. They both have the diesel exhaust brake on the inside, right? So you can use that to help slow you down, which is very nice when you're trailering. Going around to the back, you can see, guys, there is really, these trucks are the same. Hitch is the same. So they both are gonna have the heavy duty, the bigger hitch insert there in the back, same trailer wiring. They're both going to have the optional gooseneck or fifth wheel prep pack with the basically inserts pre-drilled into the bed. All right. So keep going around the trucks, guys. So all in all, these trucks, you're looking at them, and that's actually what a lot of people are like, what is the difference? How can you tell? Well, first off, the only way you're going to see on either of these trucks, as far as emblems go, which one's a 2500, which one's a 3500, is right here. This you can see 2500. We walk over to this truck, you can see 3500. But this is the only spot on these two trucks that you can see what they actually are. Guys, the other part of it that is the exact same, engine and drivetrain, right? So the engine on both these trucks is the Duramax diesel. It's 475 horsepower, 970 pound-foot of torque, somewhere in that realm, right? But torque and horsepower, the exact same. So guys, that is, so basically braking, engine, transmission, amenities, cosmetics, all the exact same between a 2500 and a 3500. So guys, that is really, when you're looking at these two trucks, it is very tough to tell if you're just walking up to them, what's the difference? And if you're driving one, people aren't even gonna, they're like, oh dude, that's a nice 2500. They're not gonna be able to tell the difference between a 2500 and a 3500. Let's get into now the differences between these trucks. This is really where it gets granular, and you really have to dig into the details, because guys, if you're looking to tow, you need to know what your truck's capable of. And I'll be honest, we're gonna get into all of this. What you'll notice very quickly is most of the difference here is set up, most of the weight difference, the weight rating difference, the GVWRs on these trucks and what they're capable, what they're rated at, has to do with licensing, registration, and safety. It really has nothing to do with the truck's capability, because, like I just said, engine, drivetrain, braking is the exact same. So your safety, that stuff is the same on these trucks. What the safety really comes down to there is, if you're in an accident and your truck's weighted as overweight, right? The sticker, the GVWR, you're pulling too much for that weight rating on the particular truck, you're gonna get yourself into a lawsuit, you're gonna have serious issues, because that's what the insurance company, that's what law enforcement, that's what they're gonna be looking at. It's not, oh, the truck's capable of it. Sure, yeah, you can pull, 30,000 pounds of this truck. I mean, maybe you can, but you can pull a ton of weight, right? But the difference between when you're looking at 2500 versus 3500 is mostly to do with safety. So let's get into the actual differences here, guys. So a 2500, right, versus a 3500. The first thing I'm gonna say right now, these two trucks, looking at them side by side, The noticeable difference is that the 3500 does sit higher. So that is right away the first thing. If you're looking at the two trucks, that is one easy way to tell. The 3500 sits about an inch higher than a 2500. Now, where this gets really confusing, and part of the reason I wanted to make this video is because in 2024, GM and Chevy, General Motors, came out with an optional max tow package for the 2500. And what that gives you is everything that a 3500 has. So the 3500 suspension, the 3500, you're not going to be limited, the torque ring's not limited. You're going to have basically the same components that a 3500 has. The only difference is your GVWR, right, and your carrying capacity. So your weight rating, basically your cargo weight rating there. That is going to be the only difference between a 2500 max tow and a 3500. So what does that mean? It basically means, guys, it's all safety and registration. So if you want to get the max tow, max trailering out of, the top of the line, best of the best, you're towing the most weight, you have to go 3500. If you don't need, from a safety and registration perspective, if you don't need to have that, a 2500 with the max trailer tow gives you, okay, like I said, the same as a 3500. Here's the difference. So 2500, this is the standard. If we look here at these leaf springs in the back, you can see you have 5 leaf springs in a 2500, all right? That is, so the difference there, that's standard 2500. If you go to a 2500 max tow, you're gonna have the identical rear suspension as a 3500, which is 5 plus 2, or 7 leaf springs. These top 2 are more or less like helper springs. So when you put weight on the bed, that's when they're actually being used. Or when you hook weight up to the back of the truck, those 2 leaf springs on the top, or the helper springs, are going to actually basically help carry that weight. If you're not towing anything, they're not being used, more or less. So 3500 or 2500 max tow package gives you 7 leaf springs in the back as opposed to 5. So that's one big difference. The other big difference is that a 3500 or a 2500 max tow will sit about an inch higher, right? So that is, right off the bat, 2 big differences. The other thing is, guys, and I'll make sure I get all these numbers straight because there's a lot of them. The 3500 or 2500 max tow is not limited in first gear. And basically what the difference is there, a 2500, standard 2500, has an 11.5 inch gear axle, okay? So it is limited basically in first gear, where the 3500 or 2500 max tow has a 12 inch gear axle. So it's not torque limited in first gear like a 2500 will be. So that is the 3500 or 2500 max tow. So a lot of different numbers getting thrown around here, guys, but the biggest thing is there is differences. I'm gonna grab my notes real quick because there were 2 other things that are minor, but they are, again, it's differences between this 3500 and the 2500. So the 3500 or 2500 max tow also has different gussets and spring mounts, right? So that'd be on the chassis when they're manufacturing these trucks. They are giving it different gussets and spring mounts, and they're also giving the 2500 or 2500 max tow or 3500 an extra front suspension cross member. So again, some minor stuff, but those are some differences between these 2 trucks, things you're going to want to know when you're looking at spending the extra couple grand to go to a 3500 or 2500 max tow. And guys, the big question I get asked, and I've seen it a lot, is do they ride different? Is it rougher? Is a 3500 a rougher riding truck than a 2500? And guys, to be honest, they really don't. They really don't. I mean, the big thing is the 3500 or 2500 max tow, you're going to get heavier springs, right? Which is why they sit higher, right? Because you're getting a beefed up heavy duty shock, or not shock, heavy duty spring in the front of a 3500 or 2500 max tow. So all in all, yeah, is it a little bit stiffer? Sure, it's a little bit stiffer, but it's still a heavy duty truck, right? You're still driving a 3/4 ton or a 1 ton truck, still a heavy duty truck. The difference in driving those 2, to be honest, is minuscule. I've driven them both. I'm actually driving a 3500 right now, single rear axle, short bed in a Denali Ultimate diesel. And I don't notice much difference at all between that and a 2500. And most times when I'm driving, has a different wheel and tire on it anyhow, a bigger tire than factory, and then the difference is so minuscule. The other big thing we're gonna get into now is the actual numbers. What can the trucks tow? What is the towing difference between a 3500 and a 2500? What does that actually look like? So let's go here, and this is brand new for 2024 for GM, and I love it because it makes it super easy for my sales guys, for myself, to tell a customer, hey, this is exactly what this truck can tow, what it's capable of, what it can handle. That way when they're coming in to buy something, they know, hey, you guys aren't, first off, we're not giving them a line, they can see it for themselves. So let's look right here, guys. But this sticker is your trailering information sticker that comes on all the GMs. This is 2024 and newer, and you can see. So this truck is a 2024 2500, and if we look right here, guys, our GVWR on the truck is 11,350. So that is your optional GVWR, and I say optional because on a 2500 they do make an optional 10,000 pound, or it's like a 9,900 pound GVWR. And that really is for the guys, basically what it's doing is giving guys that have to register under a certain weight, whether it's for insurance, you know, the way they classify stuff, business or personal, it's all basically a registration item there. But it is nice, so basically in 2024, you can get a 10,000 pound GVWR, or you can get the 11,350 in a 2500, right? Now, if you went to a 2500 max tow, that will bump up to 11,750, I believe, or it's 11,700. So your GVWR bumps up on the max tow package on the 2500. So you do have a higher GVWR rating. Now, the other big thing we're gonna get into, guys, is, so that was GVWR, our max tongue weight, or I'm sorry, not max tongue, max gooseneck or fifth wheel on this is 19.1, and the conventional is 18.5. So a 2500, conventional towing on a Denali Ultimate, because that trim makes a difference. All the luxury amenities in this truck add to the weight of it, so that does make a difference, because if you're looking at a 2500 work truck or an LT, your weight rating is going to be a lot higher because you don't have all the luxury amenities inside that are weighing the truck down. So 18.5 on a Denali Ultimate on this particular truck, 18,500 pounds is your conventional tow rating. Your fifth wheel or gooseneck. Now this is what's interesting because I did a bunch of research online and I was actually pulling GM's tow charts from their website, and in 2024 in a Denali Ultimate they're saying that your tow rating, your gooseneck fifth wheel tow rating for a 2500 is 17,100 pounds. That's what it says on their tow chart on their website. Now this truck right here on the sticker is telling me 19.1. So there's a 2,000 pound difference. And guys, the only thing I'm gonna say there is I would be going off of what's on GM's site, because whatever they put on this sticker is probably, they could have mixed that up with a lower trim truck, where that is not actually accurate. So everything I'm seeing is 17.1 or 17.150. I'm gonna grab this exact because I have these notes. Yes, I'm sorry, it's 17.2 is my Denali Ultimate fifth wheel or gooseneck rating, right? And you can see here, payload, trailering specs, this is all off of GM's site. And then your payload on this truck is 3,060 pounds. Now, guys, that is this particular 2500. If we went to a 2500 max tow, it takes your conventional rating from 18.5 to 20,000 pounds. So 1,500 pounds more of conventional tow rating, and it takes your fifth wheel tow rating to 19.3. So from 17.2 to 19.3, that's 2,100 pounds. That's a big stinking deal. And then your payload, it bumps it up about 300 pounds to 3,368 pounds, which again is a big deal. An extra 300 pounds in payload means when you're trailering, when you have your fifth wheel gooseneck on the back, you know, and basically it's going off of the contents of who's inside the truck, and then how much weight do you have in the front of your camper, how does it all distribute out basically. So guys, big differences there. And again, what does it go back to? It goes to licensing, registration, insurance. If you're in an accident and you're overweight, what happens? That 2500 versus the 2500 max tow has the same engine, has the same horsepower torque, has the same braking, but the minor differences that are done are making all the difference basically in the licensing, registration, and insurance. So then guys, we get into the 3500. Let's go over here and look at this sticker. So again, we get into this truck, 3500, and we can see here, this has a GVWR of 12,100 pounds. all right, which is 3,500 single rear wheel short bed, 12,100 pounds. And if we go down here to the max gooseneck or fifth wheel, it takes us to 21,600 pounds, and our conventional should be 20,000. Yes, so conventional tow rating on a 3,500 single rear wheel short bed is the same as a 2,500 max tow. So your conventional, that means that basically is what you're hooking up to the hitch. So it's your pull behind camper, pull behind trailer, has the exact same 3,500 single rear wheel is the exact same conventional tow rating at 20,000 pounds as a 2,500 with the max trailer tow package. Interesting, right? Now, the difference there, as we just saw, was the max fifth wheel gooseneck, okay, on a 3,500, right, is gonna bump you up to 21,100 pounds as opposed to 19,300 pounds on a 2,500 max tow. So you're talking almost 2,000 pound difference in the fifth wheel gooseneck. And really, guys, like I said, there is no difference between a 3,500 and a 2,500 max tow in suspension. There's no difference. The only difference here is your rating. It's the GVWR rating given by the manufacturer to limit you, basically to limit the truck for insurance and registration purposes. So as far as its capability, a 2,500 with the max tow package has the same capability, right? Has the same capability to tow as a 3,500, but the 3,500 has the higher weight rating, right? And that's just from the manufacturer, the way they have it set up. And basically for you guys to understand, if you're towing a big camper, a big fifth wheel, if you're towing a heavy trailer and you get pulled over, you get into an accident and you're overweight, that's where that comes into play. That's where that's a big deal. Now, the other thing to get into here too is the 3,500 is rated, the payload on this truck is rated at 3,748 pounds, where a 2,500 with the max tow is rated at 3,368. Okay, so 3,748 versus 3,368. So guys, a ton of numbers here, but the bottom line is this 3,500, when it comes to safety, basically, and I say safety, not necessarily for the people driving the truck, but for you, basically, to not get sued, to not have a lawsuit, to not have issues where you end up getting in big trouble because you're overweight and you're driving down the road and you get into an accident, or you get pulled over and you're getting inspected because you looks like you're towing a lot of weight. Guys, that's where it comes into play. The other fascinating thing is if you would go to a 3,500 dually, and that's actually another thing to keep in mind, if you went to a 3,500 8-foot bed in a Denali Ultimate, your weight ratings actually drop because it is a heavier truck, right? There's more weight on the truck, so you can't pull as much, right? But if you do go to a dually, so if you went to the dual rear wheel with an 8-foot bed, your fifth wheel gooseneck, or your gooseneck fifth wheel jumps to 30,700 pounds. So it jumps from 21,100 pounds to 30,700 pounds. And your payload will jump to 5,254 pounds on a dually as opposed to 3,748 in the single rear wheel. So again, you want the big boy, you want the absolute best, the dually is it, but it is a big truck, right? So guys, to recap there, a lot of information, but I wanted to get this out here, kind of get this on paper, and really not only for you guys, but for my future customers that are coming in and buying trucks from me here at Mark Martin Motors. It's really crucial information. It's the stuff you need to know when you're towing, the actual differences between these trucks. So guys, to recap it, the 2,500 Denali Ultimate and the 3,500 Denali Ultimate, we went over the differences. We went over why you need to know what those weight ratings are and what the actual difference between the two trucks is, so you can be better informed when you're purchasing one of these trucks to tow. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit subscribe. We're trying to hit that 50,000 sub mark this year. We appreciate you guys watching. Thanks again.